Hi, I'm Hank from freepodcasttools.com, and Mel is joining me on this endeavor as we go through the podcast setup process. I like to take people through the entire process first before they start spending their hard-earned money. It kind of will help you get clarity on your own podcasting endeavors. So we're up to video number 6, choosing a media host, and boy, won't I get some friendly feedback after this, I'm sure. So here's some things to look for when you are choosing a media host. Do they change your audio file? You want to use a media host that doesn't let you just upload your stuff and then they change the file. A reason why they would change your audio file is so they could make the file smaller for services in other countries or rural America in which they don't have a lot of bandwidth, typically. But you don't want a company doing that to your stuff. You want to have the best fidelity you can have. So you don't want them to change your file. And then here's where I always get a lot of pushback, but be careful where your RSS feed is. So if you go to a media host and they're like, man, we'll do the RSS feed for you, which is typical nowadays, we'll also obviously host the file, and then we're also going to give you a web page where people can visit. Now you get into that slippery slope where you're building their brand. So you're building your house on their foundation. And I get nervous about that. So I always ask, do you change the audio file? Do you overtake my RSS feed, or do I control that? And if I don't, will you give me a 301 redirect when I leave, if I leave? So those are two critical things to ask. Also, storage amount per month. A lot of these companies will go, well, you opened an account and all you can do is one show, and then you have a bucket. And when the bucket gets filled, you can't put anything else in until the next month when you re-up. Now, I prefer services that are just a dump bin, and they just let me just go boom, 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 boom. Here's 4 different shows, because I change my mind on a lot of stuff. I might be doing a show today, and 2 weeks from now, I might be like, nah, I'm done with that. I want to do something different. And I want that flexibility. So you just be the housing for my media file and let me handle the RSS feed and stuff like that.
It makes sense. You wouldn't want them to pigeonhole you because, like, let's say you got a podcast on, well, I mean, you have a podcast on Loki, but I mean, if right now you want to talk about Scarlet Witch, which is about to come out, because you already have you have 4 weeks planned for Loki. Now you can't do Scarlet Witch because they decided to plan how they already decided to limit your feed.
Right.
So yeah, you want to be able to just, if you want to go out of the brand, so to speak, and just, or even talk about other shows, or so you definitely don't want to be limited. That makes sense.
And sometimes community members, your listeners, will get upset if you have one feed and you start pushing out all this different stuff. So it makes sense if it's in a row of, oh, this is the Marvel Cinematic Universe. But when it starts to be in the same feed, I get sports, I get a beer show, I get I get you know what I mean? Then people start going, well, what's going on there? So I like to control the feeds, and I like them to emanate from my own domain, but you can have them emanate from anywhere, but just as long as you have total control over that process. I think is beneficial, but it's not necessary. So always ask, what's their storage per month allotment? What are their limitations if you become popular? Because I've been on hosts where they're cool until you get popular. So back in the day, we had shows that were kicking, 12,000 to 80, 90,000 per episode. And when that happens, the conversation changes. Then also, this drives me nuts. Are they dynamically inserting ads into your podcast? While some people might not get annoyed by that, I'll leave a podcast that has those dumb dynamically inserted ads. I cannot stand them. I will unsubscribe as soon as I hear it. I just, if it's not a host read ad or a legit, voiceover type ad, and I can tell it's just in the middle of a sentence, the ad starts just going. That's dynamic ad insertion. Those are garbage, in my opinion. That's just me. And I will unsubscribe. A lot of people probably aren't bothered by that, but I don't want a web host adding that to my stuff. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah. Yes.
Next, do they offer reliable statistics? So in podcasting, we have a service called the IAB. And they, right now, are the dominant statistic entity in podcasting. So if the media host doesn't work with them, doesn't have that compliance, your numbers don't mean diddly squat to an advertiser, because you could be lying. You could say, oh, I'm getting 12,000 downloads an episode. And if you ran it through their service, they might say you're getting 4,000 downloads. Legit. So you want to have a statistical service that even advertisers won't question. Then I ask the little geeky stuff, what's your average downtime? Nowadays, they bounce servers all over the world, so it should be minimal. And then if you want to do video, can they accommodate video? Not very many people that I come across anyway do video podcast feeds. I used to do them back in the day, and it was pretty seamless, so I'm assuming it's gotten better nowadays. But I don't know, how many people out there starting a podcast want to go that route and not just use a YouTube channel. But if you do, you want to make sure you ask about that, because some places will be like, whoa, get those big old files away from here. And, and other places will be like, come on, bring it on. Whatever you want to put on here, put on here. So you want to ask these questions. Mel, anything I have overlooked that you might want to ask?
You're right. You definitely need to look into this stuff. Don't just, sometimes we're impatient. We say, okay, let's just get this done right now. But
right.
You got to look into these things.
And some of the companies will make it sound like it's so convenient. Like, hey, you don't worry about anything. We got all this stuff covered. And that's the ones where you're really worried about, because they get their hands behind their back and you don't know they got a freaking big knife behind their back waiting to stab you in the back when you least expect it. So just be careful when choosing a media host. Make sure, as easy as it is to get in, it's just as easy to get out. You don't want a roach motel.
Yes.
All right. Next video we're going to be doing is going to be audio elements. So it should be very fun. Thanks again, Mel.
Thank you.
All right. We'll see you in the next video.